Hello, everyone, and welcome to tonight's Academy Chat. My name is Zach Dukowitz. I'm the Academy Coordinator. I've been working with the Academy for several years, and I'll be hosting tonight's event. Tonight, our special guest is Oscar Sosa, the Academy Site Manager at our Domestic Academy, which is located at St. Michael's College in Colchester, Vermont, just outside of Burlington. This is the second summer in a row where all of our domestic academies are located under one roof at St. Michael's. Historically, we had them divided. We were at two different college campuses, so it's been exciting to have them all in one place. And under Oscar's amazing leadership, we've seen some really great things last summer where we had everything under one roof, and we're excited to have the same situation again this summer. So just to introduce Oscar briefly, he's worked with the Academy for about 10 years, so he has a lot of experience that he'll be sharing from tonight. He's also a language learner himself. He'll be talking a little bit about that tonight, and he's been a language educator for quite some time. We're really excited just to give him a platform to share everything that he knows and from his broad background. So just to provide an overview, tonight's conversation is going to be about 15 minutes, and we'll have a Q&A at the end. If you have any questions at all, please don't be shy. There's a Q&A pane. If you look at the bottom of your screen, you should see something that it just says Q&A. There's also a chat pane. You can feel free to type into either one. We won't be doing questions live as they come in, but we'll be doing them at the very end. So feel free to type them in at any point, and we'll just be compiling them and get to them at the end. If for some reason your question is not answered tonight, please know that we'll be following up with everyone. So we are committed to getting your questions answered. So if for some reason we don't get to it tonight, we will be getting to it. And the last thing to mention, and we'll mention this again, but we are one day away from the end of the first tier for the Academy, which means that we're one day away from the $1,000 discount period ending. So at midnight tomorrow, the $1,000 discount to sign up for the Academy will end. It's worth mentioning just because it's coming up soon. So without further ado, we're gonna go ahead and get started talking to Oscar. So Oscar, thanks so much for being here. We're really excited to have you.
Thanks for having me here, and thanks for that intro.
You got it. So I just wanna dive right in. I know you have a ton of experience in learning languages and teaching as well, and also in administration. Can you just share with us here at the beginning a little bit about your experience with learning other languages?
Sure, no problem. I started, my language journey started as a kid, just hearing Spanish at home. I grew up in New York City, so I spoke a lot of English, but my input was in Spanish. And then when I was in college, I traveled abroad to try to acquire my language skills to sort of, polish that up. And I did. I went to Spain and the Dominican Republic. Right after college, I started teaching. I started teaching Spanish. That was a long time ago. That was in 1995. And I taught for up until about 2015 Spanish. I'm still involved with language, just in a different capacity, not as a teacher, but as an innovation specialist. I work with the language teachers to ensure that their instruction is representing best practices in the field of language acquisition.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Oscar. Let's shift the conversation a little bit more and focus on the Academy itself. The language pledge is a really big part of what students undertake when they sign up for the Academy. And of course, that's the pledge to stay in language for the full 4 weeks of the Academy. And so I'm just wondering if you could speak to, so you're someone who's taken the language pledge yourself, both in college and at the Academy. Can you talk about the experience of taking the pledge and maybe speak to similarities or differences between having done it when you're in college versus having done it with the Academy? Anything that you have to share about the pledge?
Absolutely. So for the folks out there, I did 4 summers at Middlebury College, living under the language pledge. And I would say that, at the university level, at the college level, the language pledge as adults, we have the the development to persist through those social challenges that come with living 100% in the language. So, adults can handle that pretty well. I mean, it's still challenging, right? It's still difficult. But if you're a new language learner, you're an adult, you know what you've gotten into, and you can persist and go through the challenges. The language pledge at the Academy obviously is with younger folks, young adults, and requires a different approach. You still stay committed 100% to the language, but as an academy, what we'll do is we'll provide you with more social emotional support along the way in that journey. At the college level, you're kind of left to yourself, and to your friends that are with you and your classmates. But at the high school level, the middle school level, the students are going to need more support. So we have an RA team and teachers that really help with ensuring that the kids are getting their social emotional support and any other developmental needs that are needed, right? So we ensure their physical well-being, make sure that they're having fun, that they're connecting with other people, that they're also feeling like students or feeling like themselves while they're acquiring the language and staying in the language pledge. So, to sum it up, there's a whole lot more support that we provide at the high school level, knowing that the kids will need it.
Which I'm sure is really reassuring to parents listening right now. I mean, as we all know, it is a big undertaking to commit to stay in language. I've done a language immersion program myself, but we had no such pledge. And I know that it would have been challenging. I did it as an adult, and I was in language about 8 hours a day, but at the end of the day, you could do what you wanted and you didn't have nearly as rigorous a commitment. So I think it's great that we have all these supports in place. I appreciate you speaking to them.
Yeah, I mean, the teenagers are figuring out who they are. They're trying to socialize. That, I mean, that's their primary reason for sort of being a teenager, right? They're connecting to groups, and we support them as best we can along that journey while maintaining the language pledge.
And along the same lines, could you share any advice that you might have for students that are thinking about joining the Academy, or for students who might already have signed up that are attending or whose parents are attending tonight?
I'll start off with giving some advice to the students. Come with an open mind. Be ready to be the person who initiates friendships. You're not alone in wanting to learn the language. I think that's important to know. When you arrive on campus, you'll run into several hundred other students who are very similar to you in their academic goals. They want to acquire this language. They have a passion for it. Everyone is nervous. But if you come ready to initiate friendships and to sort of just try your best, knowing that perhaps if you're a new language learner, that you might just be gesturing or pointing the first few days. In the end, it all works out, and just trust that it will. We've been doing this for many years, and it works out. For parents, my advice is to give your child some space. The first week is very challenging, and for most parents, when they hear about their kids having a challenge, they want to come in and support them as best they can. But sometimes that support will interrupt the language acquisition process. The first week, kids are learning how to deliver their personality once again in their life, right? So no one ever thinks about this. We have personalities, we have them in our first language. We know how to share if we're funny or share our sense of humor, whatever it might be. We know how to do that. When we take away our first language and try to do it all in the second language, it's like we're born again, like we're brand new. So for some families, that's challenging to hear that their child is having a hard time adjusting or acclimating or making friends. But it's all part of the process. And we just have to, what I recommend families is to, to give the kid about 7 to 10 days to adjust. And the other thing is we are a residential program. And for many kids, that'll be the first time that they're away. So homesickness, you need some time for homesickness to abate. And that's about 10 days, 7 to 10 days.
Got it. That's incredibly helpful. And I know you've already spoken quite a bit about the support that we provide students. And I know that you have a big role in that support. Could you speak to some of the other things that you do as site manager for our domestic academy in Colchester?
Yeah, so site manager is basically a site director, and my responsibility is to ensure the quality of the overall program. I coordinate a safe, supportive, and rewarding environment for everyone, not just the students, but also the staff that is supporting the program. We have a team of directors of Res Life. We have people involved on the academic side with academy directors and teachers, and we're all there for supporting the kids. My job is to ensure that the coordination amongst all those entities is there, that we're able to deliver what we say we're delivering in a way that, again, provides a safe, supportive, and rewarding environment for everyone involved, and especially the kids.
Thanks so much. And you know, I mentioned when I was introducing you, you've worked with the academies for quite a while in various roles. Could you tell us a little more? How many summers have you been with the academy, and can you tell us a little bit about the different jobs that you've done with the academy?
I started with the academies in 2011. I did 2 years as a Spanish Academy assistant director. And then after that, I moved into residential life. I did 3 years as a director of residential life. And now I'm entering my 3rd year as a site director.
Fantastic. Oh, and it's worth mentioning, this might be fairly obvious, but the way we structure the academies, there are directors and assistant directors of each individual language academy. So you'll have 4 academies this summer: Arabic, Chinese, Spanish, and French that you're overseeing. But then you, as site director, site manager, you're overseeing all of those academies.
That's correct.
Just for folks who are new to us. Can you share, given all the time that you've spent doing this, what's one of your favorite memories from a recent academy, last summer or previous?
For the audience out there, Zach, I kind of knew this question was coming, and it's so hard. There's so many memories. I'll try to speak to like the overall feel. I do have one memory from last year, but the overall feel is we always repeat it. I always come across these moments when I just feel good about the summer. So last year, the one that stood out was there was an academy that put on a performance, kind of like a talent show. And they did this cool hip hop song with like this cool jazz music in the background. These were true beginners. Like they just learned the language and they were rhyming in it and doing hip hop. And the music came from just whatever instruments were around, the ones the kids brought, the ones we may have on site. It was like one of those moments I was like, wow, like this is really cool. Like this could be one of those viral YouTube videos, all in target language. So I thought that was pretty cool. That was a good memory. Another memory, again, is these are the ones that always repeat themselves. We have a closing ceremony at the end of the summer, kind of similar to, we call it a graduation. It's a closing ceremony, and each academy gets to choose a student or two to, deliver a speech, the equivalent of a graduation speech. It is like by far one of my favorite moments because it's amazing to have seen students in the beginning of the program, nervous, unsure of their language skills, knowing that they're beginners, never imagining themselves delivering a speech to 100 kids or 100 classmates, and they do. It's amazing to hear. It's amazing to see the confidence in both the speaker and the audience. We tend to think a lot about language with the speaker, but listening is such an important skill. And when you sit back and see the kids in the audience, hearing their classmate, understanding everything, laughing at the jokes, it gives me chills just to see it because it's such an amazing moment to have seen that progress and that growth. And that one repeats every year. So I can look forward to this coming, the end of this coming summer, having that same feeling again because the progress is real.
That's fantastic. Yeah, and I know just having worked with the Academy for a long time, the amount of growth that students see, not in their language acquisition, of course, but also personally, just in 4 weeks is really incredible. So it's an inspiring thing to witness from the outside, and I'm sure being a part of that process is a pretty amazing, powerful thing. So we're going to open things up for the Q&A now, but I will tell you that we're having some technical difficulty with opening the Q&A pane. I don't know why, but I will. Oh, maybe. Nope, I didn't. Okay, so I apologize if on screen right now you are seeing the questions, but I think this is the most effective way for us to get them answered. I think that's more important than just having the slides up. So Oscar, I don't know if you're seeing these, but the first question we have is, what do students do during their free time after lunch each day? And do they have homework assignments?
In general, they do not have homework assignments. they're always learning. When you think of homework at a school, it tends to be for practice after class, but the entire program is a class. So in general, like there aren't assignments that kids will associate as homework. Sometimes kids will meet with teachers and ask for some specific help with certain structures that they're interested in. You know, sometimes it's grammar, sometimes it's, can you help me write this essay? You know, can you help me write in these characters? We don't really consider that homework. That's just like their interest and their passion, and they do it whenever they have free time. We have a full day. Generally, there's academics, and then lunch. There'll be some more academics, some maybe an elective class. So generally, after lunch, our school day doesn't end. The kids they'll rest for a little bit, and then they'll move on to another activity or an elective class.
Excellent, thank you. And then the second question that we had up there was about LGBTQ students. And sorry, I got to pull it up. Just give me one moment. So what's our policy with housing and bathroom access, and specifically transgender female to male students? Is that something that you could speak to, Oscar?
Yeah, no, we certainly accommodate all students, and we work with the college to ensure that we have housing that can accommodate the restrooms and the housing and whatever other situation or accommodation a student might need. We've certainly have handled these particular cases in the past, and will continue to do so.
Yeah, and I'll also say we are always available to have a more in-depth conversation. So if there's any parents attending who have really specific concerns or questions, we're completely available. So I know, Oscar, you could speak to someone, but also our enrollment team is probably the best folks to speak with. And the easiest thing to do is just to reach out. So our enrollment team is always available, and please don't be shy if you want to speak more in depth just to be reassured. We're always available.
Yeah, we always work with the families and the students to, to accommodate and to work with their identified gender.
Thank you. So we just have two more questions, and then we'll close it out for tonight. So the first question is, what if you're an absolute beginner? Is this for me, and would I be able to speak English at all in the very beginning?
If you're an absolute beginner, absolutely, come on in. When it comes to some of the higher category of difficulty languages like Arabic and Mandarin, many students are beginners, true beginners. What's the second part of that? I'm sorry.
Would I be able to speak English at all?
So we do commit to the language pledge, but as I said earlier, we do support students social emotionally. So there are breaks. Specifically, you'll be able to call home on a schedule. There are about 3 to 4 phone calls home, which will give you an opportunity to speak in English. Also, if there's an emergency or you have an urgent need to speak with someone in the Res Life team in English, we can certainly make those accommodations, because your health and your well-being is of utmost importance. So there are moments when kids are going through homesickness, and they'll come into the Res Life office and just have those conversations to help them keep going with the program, and they'll do those in English.
Awesome, thank you, Oscar. I think we have one last question that we're pulling up, and again, apologies about the technical difficulties that we're having. Apologies, but if you had a question that wasn't answered, please know that we're going to be following up, and you can also reach out to us via email or by phone. But I do want to respect everyone's time. We've gone over 15 minutes now. We committed to approximately a 15-minute window for this Academy chat. This is really just an opportunity to learn a little bit more, connect with someone who works with the Academy closely. So I want to thank you, Oscar, so much for taking the time to talk with us tonight.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me here.
You got it. Yeah, we're really glad to have you. And the last thing I want to say, tomorrow at midnight, we close out the window in which you can get $1,000 off enrollment. So please, if you have any more questions that you need answered to make a decision, reach out. Our contact information is up here on the screen. Anything that you need at all to make that decision before midnight tomorrow so you can get that $1,000 off, we will be available. So please don't hesitate to reach out. And Thank you so very much to Oscar, and thanks to everyone who attended tonight. I hope everyone has a great night.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Oscar.